here ready to do our new podcast where we interview professionals, businesses, community organizations, and more.
But I thought we were here to interview artists.
Well, yeah, we're going to be interviewing all types of artists, musicians, poets, singers, dancers, painters, whatever your craft is. We welcome you to come to our podcast and tell us who you are, locally and abroad.
Or is it more about relationships and why those in love wear matching outfits?
Well, to each his own when it comes to outfits. We like to dress alike, of course. And it does matter how we look, both individually and as a couple. We represent each other, right?
Right. So, since you said that, shouldn't this really be about beauty?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to share some of my beauty tips, of course. I mean, that's what I do. Oh, yes, darling, because you do know that I am a Mary Kay consultant, and I've got to let them in on some of my secrets. Anyway, because when you look good, you feel good.
Speaking of look good, feel good, that reminds me that this is more about the vegan, plant-based lifestyle, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Plant-based living saved my life. Fighting diabetes, changing my lifestyle to the vegan lifestyle has really, really improved my health. And so we're going to show everybody how to eat right, tasty dishes that are good for you, and have some guests who can help us with those culinary arts.
That's what's up. So what about the reflections and encouragement of the day? Isn't that what it's really about?
I think at the end of the day, people are going to want to know, what is ChynaGroove? I'm China Doll.
I'm D-Groove.
And together, we are ChynaGroove.
We are what? We are who?
China. Not to be mistaken for the China.
That's what I heard when you did that. I was expecting you to do the ch. Nobody knows what we're talking about. Nobody knows. Once again, it is on another Saturday evening.
Saturday night, party time.
I would say 6:30 and something, but we had a little technical difficulties, so it's about 6:50 in the PM Eastern Standard Time.
Better late than never.
That's what they say. Good things come to those who wait. Do we need any more fancy sayings to kill some time? No, we already did that. I hope everybody is doing well in your neck of the woods, wherever you may be, tuning in to us on YouTube, Facebook, as well as the Gram, the IG, the Insta.
The Gram of Insta.
Not to be confused with the Insta ignorant card. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Bad experience.
Yeah, we had a bad Instacart experience today. I just, I don't want to badmouth anyone, but if I say refund if you don't have non-dairy ice cream, I need you to not send me to Linty.
Yeah. They sent you what they like. They were like, I like this. I'm going to go ahead and send it.
I don't even eat raspberry. What is that? Sounds like it has seeds.
And the beautiful, lovely voice that you hear talking about raspberry sorbet is the one, the only, Camilla Chynadol Collins, Washington, ladies and gentlemen.
And on the other side of the table across from me is the luxurious other half or other whole of this couple, Mr. Derek D-Groove, Washington. And together we are ChynaGroove Podcast. You try to give me that now.
Yeah, I hesitate.
Sometimes they say show. Sometimes they say podcast.
Or a showcast.
Pod show. No. But tonight is the podcast. And it's a
very serious one. We figured we'd get the jokes out of the way because the topic today is no joking matter.
At all.
It's something that is going across the nation. It's something that is very unfortunate. And you've got to educate yourself on this topic to know the distinctions that the loved ones care about.
Yes.
The verbiage matters.
Yes.
What you say matters very much when it comes to this issue. I will allow you to pick it up from there.
Yes, our guests today are very dear to my heart. My family is here today. And so I welcome my family to talk about a very delicate subject because we have lost our brother, cousin, uncle, Josh Mathewson, to fentanyl poisoning. And it was not what people would use the word of overdose or things of that nature. We want to make sure that the respect and the recognition of this being a case of homicide, murder, that has been placed on his life, taken his life today. So without further ado, I'll let them explain way better than I can. Theresa Mathewson and Chelsea Mathewson. Welcome.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the both of you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. And together they have created a awesome organization among many mothers and families who have just got mad. I was told at the last event that I attended that it's not a matter of how strong you are, it's how mad you are. And so can you tell us about Joshua's Army, Theresa?
Sure. I'd have to start kind of at the beginning, which was our loss of Josh and perceptions that people have. Josh was not an addict or substance use disorder person, depending on which term you like to use. However, he made a bad decision. He tried to get a pain pill from someone, and half that pill contained 27 nanograms of fentanyl and killed my son. And I found him about 10 minutes too late in his bed, 2 weeks to the day after his 27th birthday. We had everyone in, EMS, sheriffs, investigators, you name it. And we watched one car after another drive out the driveway. And we were left standing on the porch, not knowing what to do next, where to go, who to help us. And so I worked out of shock and anger and pain and began asking questions and doing some research because I like to pick things apart. It's just control with me. I need to know. And that led us to finding other groups and realizing that we weren't the odd man out. The year that Josh died in 2022, Harnett County alone lost 55 people in Harnett County. Now, we've had people from Harnett County that have passed away over county lines, so they get counted there. I have connected with about 5 of those families now.
So good.
One of them works with us in Joshua's Army. So we started attending other groups' meetings and learning more and getting angrier.
Yeah, of course.
And we were working on an investigation at the time. Chelsea was an integral piece of that investigation and actually assisted in the arrest of the individual who murdered my son, who has been charged with death by distribution. And we go back to court on the 22nd for another hearing, another administrative hearing.
Yes.
He knew the day my son died that we knew he gave him something. And he continued to deal for 11 months while the investigation went on. He was arrested with felony levels of cocaine, felony levels of fentanyl, and felony levels of marijuana wax on him the day he was arrested.
Wow.
Sheesh.
Total disregard for all humanity. And that made me angry. And I started to think about my son's friends and how to help them and how to keep them here. Because the little backstory is that 3 years before Josh died, he actually saved a friend of his. We didn't know about fentanyl. And his friends were sharing a pill, and Josh said, "No, I'm going home. I got to work in the morning." He went down to the gas station to get sodas. He got a phone call. He ran back and he was doing CPR until EMS got there. And the young man called him from the hospital in the morning and said, they told me if you hadn't come, I'd be dead. Josh was the godfather to his children.
Jeez.
So none of us knew about fentanyl then.
Right.
We just thought it was bad drugs. And they all made a promise not to do that again. Until the day my son died, I think he stuck to that. And I've been asked, how do you know? And I say, well, because he cut off a very, very close friend of his who wouldn't stop and wouldn't get help. So he separated himself from that environment as much as he could.
Yeah.
Do I think because he got fentanyl, had he survived it, that there's a very high chance he could have become addicted? Yes, absolutely. The odds of that are so high. And that's one of the things that we talk about, with, particularly with youth and with parents, is that one time not only can kill, but one time can create an addict. So in talking with his friends about that and realizing how little they knew and how much in denial they were, we decided that our message had to get bigger. And so we started sitting on the Harnett County Opioid Task Force. And then we realized our message really needed to get bigger and quick. And so Joshua's Army Fights Fentanyl was formed.
Wow. Such warriors. And so you were saying also that it doesn't always kill right off. The addiction rate is high. Can you elaborate on how people become addicted to fentanyl?
Fentanyl is being placed in everything. In fact, the DEA has suggested that the majority of what people think are heroin out here is fentanyl. There's very little heroin in it. Same thing with methamphetamines, cocaine, crack cocaine. It's all being diluted, if you will, with fentanyl. And there's a reason for that. Fentanyl is so much more addictive, 50 times more addictive than marijuana, and not marijuana, I'm sorry, heroin, and 100 times more addictive than morphine.
Wow.
100 times more potent. A lethal dose of fentanyl, you can't see. And you forgot the visual.
I did.
But Chelsea has a visual to show you what that looks like.
Like a grain of salt, I was told.
Yes.
Smaller.
It's about 2 grains of salt is enough to kill an adult. To about 2 nanograms, which you can't really see with the human eye.
Hold this up to the camera.
This is a graphic image that was made by the lady who works with us when she lost her granddaughter, Nico, because she was trying to understand what less than 6 nanograms looked like. And so she worked with the engineers where she worked to come up with a way to depict that. And that picture, and it explains on there how much larger the smallest drill bit they could possibly find is than a lethal dose of fentanyl. But they put it in everything because it's cheap. It's cheap. About 10 cents makes a lethal dose of fentanyl.
Wow.
But it costs $45 to $75 to buy a box of Narcan.
Wow.
To
Not
save a
only
life.
is it murder, but it's robbery.
Both, yes. And it is being done intentionally to addict people and make them come back for more. And people say, well, why would a drug dealer take the risk of killing his clients, his money? And it's simple, because it's so easily addictive. Somebody else will step up and take their place.
Wow. Yeah, I remember when we were younger and people were addicted to heroin in the neighborhoods in Baltimore, they would say, so-and-so went out. We want some of that. That's potent. And so it's very disheartening, the mindset of people who are addicted. But in Josh's case, he was not suffering from addiction disorder.
No.
So, and it's hard. How would you discuss, even with the young people, or any ages in association with people, when you have friends who are addicts or might recreational use some of these street drugs, and how do you still be yourself and not, like you said, he had to completely separate and cut ties with and not lose the people, because he was a hero. He was a hero. How can we reach people?
We start by providing Narcan for everybody and teaching them how to use it, how to save your friend's life. Because that's what we're supposed to do, right? We're supposed to lift each other up and keep each other going. So that's how we start. And that usually starts a conversation about, well, why do I need this?
Right.
And let us tell you why. Let us tell you all the things that are being contaminated with illicit fentanyl. And I make the distinction because there is pharmaceutical fentanyl, which she went over with Missy, an amazing woman. I love her.
Yeah, she is. Me too.
And has very important uses. But this is a dirty drug. It's made in farm sheds and scattered buildings. There's no, what comes out one day can be stronger or the next day. There's no controls like there is with a pharmaceutical drug.
Right.
And then there's no controls once it gets to the dealer either, because they take this and they mix it with NutriBullets or blenders. And so you may get a pill and divide it between 4 people and you're all fine, and you get another pill and 3 of you are out. And so we have that discussion, and we talk a lot about, we have a lot of people say, oh, well, all I do is smoke marijuana. It won't affect me. So we talk about all the cases that are now being handled at Josh Stein's level, where we've had marijuana that's been sprayed with liquid fentanyl.
I've heard about that as far back as probably about a year or so before the pandemic. Yep. I heard about that in Delaware, where it was a real big pandemic happening, and that's what it was. It was on the marijuana, just like you said. They were spraying it on there, and it's sad because, like Camilla said, you have addicts that know that somebody just either overdosed or just, had to be brought back with Narcan. And it's that mentality that's the one that I want.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But the distinction has to be made that as in like Josh's case, he didn't know he was getting that. He wasn't, prepared to take that chance. It was just something that was there, unfortunately. And, that's the thing, like you said, that is how you distinguish it between just a dealer being a dealer and someone risking killing someone knowingly that what they are peddling, drugs, heroin, yes, you can overdose on that. But like you said, with fentanyl, it's so much more addictive and powerful. And just to hear that it's that much stronger than morphine, which most people, when they hear morphine, they're like, wow, that's the strongest thing that's out there. And then this comes along. It makes it look like a Flintstone aspirin.
Yes.
Yeah, when I hear morphine, I think about somebody's going into surgery.
Yeah.
Like point blank in the
hospice.
In the olden days.
Yep.
They give you a slow drip and let you go to sleep. But
and while I was talking, I actually took a picture of what you held up to the camera. And I don't know if people realize the penny does not show you the level of fentanyl that is needed to kill you. If you look right in front of his face on that penny, there's a black dot, a very small dot. That's the size that can kill you. Now think about that for a second. It doesn't take much. And like you say, they're spraying it and they're chopping and doing all these other things, putting it into pill form and things like that. But really all it takes is get an eyedropper and drop it on there. And that is far more than enough that could potentially kill you.
And it is odorless, colorless, tasteless. You have no way of knowing. No way of knowing. And that's one of the things we do. We show pictures and go, can you tell us which one is the clean drug, the prescription drug, and which one isn't? And you don't know. And it's getting it's not only in the drug source and in the drug supply anymore. We just watched an interview done with some police department in California. They're finding it in eye drops. They're finding it being put in nasal spray. It's being dropped like acid used to be on little dabs of paper. So nothing, absolutely nothing. We had a gentleman who was arrested in Myrtle Beach. He had taken Advil gel caps and pulled the gel out of them and inserted liquid fentanyl into them so he could walk the street. And if he was questioned, well, I just gave him an Advil. And that's what it looked like.
Wow. It's something to me. I'm appalled and amazed at the same time of the creativity that is used, that could be used for so much good. Like, how do you come up with these ideas on how to create something like that? These people are chemists without license. And the help needs to be helped on all sides. How do we get help for the dealers to not need to sell drugs? Like, I don't want to be making this a two-sided room, but there's totally more than one problem here.
Oh, absolutely.
The problem is, why are we selling drugs in the first place?
Absolutely. But I think part of that is accountability.
Yes.
We don't hold anyone accountable anymore. And so from my perspective, I like to see a drug dealer, especially a fentanyl dealer, who knowingly is dealing fentanyl, they need to do time.
Yes.
But part of that has to be rehabilitative time. So that they can come out and use their experience and their knowledge to help the next group of people, the next generation, and educate them, help them stay off that track.
That is so awesome. And that's a lot of strength, because most moms would not be able to look at it from both sides. We talked a lot about gun violence and how you might live in a neighborhood and you know the person who was killed, and you also know the person who did the murder. So it's like our community is hurting on both ends. All of our families are suffering from the tragedies that happen. And I was reading that it's possible that they've been putting it in candy for children.
Yes, gummies. It's the vape pens, like the THC cart pens, where you can put change the carts on the pen and recharge them. They put it into that. If you think about it, they can put it in there, or spray it on, or add it on. There's virtually nothing that isn't being perverted into a carrier for fentanyl anymore.
Wow. It's just amazing to me. Let's talk a little bit about Narcan. How can someone get educated about or get a hold of some Narcan for emergency use in their neighborhood or schools or things of that nature? Let's talk about that, Chelsea.
I get the hot seat.
Actually, this is the perfect time, because Chelsea had something we want to kind of give a shout out to someone today, since we're talking about Narcan.
I do. I have a young man by the name of Michael Loomis, who is a key member of Surviving Siblings Network, as well as working with his father, who is the founder of Race Against Drugs, who Narcan 2 people today on his way to work. So I just want to give him a major shout out. So Good job, Michael.
Keep up the good work, Michael. That's amazing. Like, on the spot, I would be panicking. I promise you. I thank you for my gift. She gave me a kit that's like with a CPR mask. It's complete with 2 Narcans. So tell us a little bit. So if you see a person who appears to be under the poisoning of fentanyl, how do you administer the Narcan? You got one over there?
We have a trainer right here. We use these at every training we do, so that people can get comfortable with it, how to hold it. Simply put your fingers on either side. There's little grooves, and push. You don't need to shake it. You don't need to prime it. One push.
So it's just like a nasal spray.
Just like a nasal spray.
That is life-saving. Seems so simple.
Yep.
So, and where can people get the Narcan?
You can buy Narcan over the counter now.
Good.
In virtually every pharmacy. Again, it's between $45 and $70, depending on where you go. But if you have insurance, you can use your insurance and just pay your copay. We tell everyone who has Medicaid, your copay is $4. And there is a standing order in North Carolina. So you don't have to have a special prescription and go have a awkward conversation with your doctor.
That's good.
Health departments.
I'm going to get on my soapbox for a second.
Uh-oh.
Why do we think it's so expensive for something that can save lives?
Because, my opinion, because the same companies who began the OxyContin epidemic are the same companies that are making Suboxone and methadone, and they're the same companies that are working on drugs like naloxone.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of knew the answer to that because, like Camilla said earlier, she is from Baltimore. I lived and worked in Baltimore for 15 years. And you always see the addicts there, and it's a joke half the time as far as what the rehab is.
Yep.
Because when they go there, they're given what they call on the street jars.
Yep.
And they're not monitored as far as taking it. So what they do is they pretend like they take it, they collect it, they put it in other bottles or vials and things like that, and then they in turn go out and sell that.
Yep.
Because what they're given is something that kind of gives them that high, and it's meant to be, you're supposed to be weaned off of the heroin by taking this in slowly reducing doses, but the way that they're doing it is it's not monitored. They're pretending to take it, they're putting it all together, and then they're going right back out on the street and selling that so they can, guess what? So they can get more heroin.
It's a vicious
And
cycle.
it's a cycle. And, something like that saves lives should not be that expensive. You wouldn't think.
You wouldn't think. And I will say this, we very graciously receive a very large shipment of naloxone from a nonprofit in Florida.
Now, for the people that don't know, tell them what naloxone is.
Naloxone is Narcan.
Okay.
Narcan is sometimes referred to as a Band-Aid. I prefer to refer to it as a tourniquet. If I'm bleeding to death, I want a tourniquet.
Exactly.
If I can't breathe, I want something to let me have oxygen. And that's what Narcan does. Now, there are, that I know of, 3 different versions. You have Narcan, which is the 4 milligram doses, and you get 2 per box. Revive is a nonprofit out of Virginia or West Virginia who is now distributing naloxone in 3 milligram packets. And then we have Hikma, who's come out with Kloxxado, which are 8 milligrams. So, and the reason for that is if you are someone who has perhaps a combination of opioids in your system, like heroin and fentanyl or morphine and fentanyl, rather than need 2 or 3 doses of Narcan version, Kloxxado being stronger, you would need fewer. That's the idea behind it.
Wow. So many tourniquets. It's amazing. You guys are doing amazing work. I would have not known what to look for or to have this conversation if it had not been for you all. I hate that you have gone through what you've gone through, but I know that the work that needs to be done is being done, and it's so appreciated. It's so needed. I pray for y'all all the time because y'all my family.
I don't think people realize either that there are, this really is a grassroots movement. There's 27, 28 of us now, nonprofits across the state of North Carolina,
Good.
who are carrying, in my opinion, are carrying the brunt of this movement and momentum to get Narcan out there, naloxone, and get people educated and kind of break that stigma that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that my son used one time. It doesn't matter that my son didn't, but could have used 1,000 times.
That's right.
And every life is worth saving. Every life is redeemable.
That's it.
Every life has some value to someone. Everybody's somebody's son or daughter. And everyone has someone out there grieving them,
That's right.
waiting for them to come home. And that's our goal, is to not have them get the knock on the door, but to get their child, their person, to walk through the door.
That's amazing. I mean, the people take for granted the waiting for either a phone call or your person to come home. And so, like I said, there aren't any words that I could say. I had an amazing experience with when you had the Angels Across America trailer come through. It was sad, and to see all the faces and even babies, photographs placed on the side of his trailer. It was just like, how can we help to get more word out? What else can we do? What more can we do to help you?
Just keep spreading the word. Send people in the directions, health departments, their physicians, groups like ours, to get naloxone, get information, get educated. There are other things that we don't do, but there are groups out there like the health department and the North Carolina Harm Reduction Coalition who give out test kits and other things. We focus primarily on, I'd prefer to educate you to not need it. And my experience has been, when I talk to people who are repeat users, that they either don't test their drug or they'll use it anyway. They'll either just use a little less. They think they can beat it.
You can handle it.
Yeah, so I'll just use a little less, or it won't happen to me because I use it all the time. And so I'm not so sure how effective those are. I don't have that data because we chose to narrow our focus to education and prevention, and advocating for families who end up in the unfortunate situation like ours, helping walk them through the steps that worked for us to get to the justice system, sit with them in court so they know they're not alone, they have support, so the judge and the jury and the DAs and the attorneys see they're not alone, and that they better step up and do something.
Yes.
For that family and for their communities.
Yes. I'm just amazed that there's even a test kit. Because it's, when I think about test kits, you think about when the police come and they're trying to see if what you have is an illicit drug in your possession. So why would they even have to make those public now? And how would somebody even want to have that? Like you said, if a person is a user, they're not looking to test it.
The philosophy is that it's a fentanyl test kit that they're giving out. So the philosophy is, well, if you test your drug and there's fentanyl in it, you won't take it because you don't want to die.
I just paid my money for this.
That's it. That's it.
I'm
right
just,
there.
devil's advocate.
The other thing is that
There's no refunds.
we have to make sure that they're clear. You have to test the entire drug. So again, if you have a pill, one half might be deadly, and the other half might
It's
not.
not. Mm-hmm.
So you have to test your entire drug supply.
Yeah, that's hustling backwards, like we say back home.
Yes,
For me, that's really
absolutely.
And I'm glad that you chose to focus on more prevention and the action that's needed to actually help people.
We got asked why we don't do harm reduction, and I said education in Narcan is harm reduction. If I keep someone alive so that they can go to treatment, I've reduced the harm.
Exactly.
Wow. I've been sitting over here again doing some research, and the company that makes Narcan, weird name.
Emergent.
Well, no, this one says Opiate Pharmaceuticals.
Yep, there's several.
Is one of the first ones, and you would be amazed at their revenue just last year. Their annual revenue is $40.52 million.
It's a moneymaker.
Yes. And their stock is currently trading at $20.65 a share.
Yep.
Wow. I just don't even really understand. All of that could be put into so much other research to help people with disorders, addiction disorders, and put into housing and community programs that could help folks to do something that would take their minds away from the escape of even recreational drugs or even buying drugs on the street. Like, there's such a stigma on mental health awareness that, and I'm guilty too. I don't have a therapist like I need, but people don't go talk to somebody.
Right.
And so it's hard when we have to go talk to somebody after something so traumatic has happened. It's really hard to say, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. And to know that that type of money is going out for a Band-Aid, knowing that they probably manufactured what happened, or the base of what they're using to mix in the
Right.
street. So I'm getting angry too.
Well, and we get asked, what do we do about the problem? Well, the reality is we can't stop China. We as individuals, we can't close the border, but we can nurture and police our communities. We can hold people's feet to the fire when they do something wrong. We can hold judges and DA's feet to the fire to make sure that they give justice to those families that have had a loss, who have been wronged.
That's right.
We can do a better job at giving treatment to those who want it, who make a mistake perhaps, or realize at the time of perhaps an arrest that this is leading me down a path I really didn't ever want to go down, and help divert them another direction. But part of that has to be, and you're absolutely right, more behavioral health treatment units, more detox, more rehabs, and with serious accountability. They can't just be a revolving door.
It's hard. It's
It
hard
is.
in my experience with the mental health and behavioral services, because 9 times out of 10, a person that needs those services doesn't want those services, or they feel like they don't need those services.
Yep.
So, and it is their right to refuse those services. You cannot force someone.
I think the difficult part of that is, like you say, if they know that they're addicted and know they need help, they don't want to go and actively seek that help.
Well, it's not necessarily that, but it's scary.
True.
Think about it, especially for those that may have children. If they go and seek that help, what happens to my kids? Does DSS then step in and take them? And can I get them back? And what happens to them while I'm gone? There's a lot of questions.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah, they need to make that access less invasive, I think is what I'm looking for, to where instead of them going out and looking for it, maybe that help needs to go to them and say, hey, look, we're here to offer you this help. This is all we're here for. We're not here to judge you. We're not here to put anybody else in your family at risk. We just want to put you in a better situation so you can get past this, so you can have that life that you're missing out.
It sounds a lot like a real trust issue.
And we're working on that as a whole. In general, there are programs for mothers who specifically who have children. They bring their children. It's a requirement to be in the program that you work as a family unit through that. We have places for the children of recovering addicts to go to be supported and learn and not follow down that road, because we know that this can often be a generational problem.
That's good.
They're few, but they're there. The problem is letting the community know that they're there.
How to reach some of these programs. Can you tell us a little bit about, or any information that we can give to our listeners?
We're actually compiling a list of those with the help of Alliance and other nonprofits like Race Against Drugs right now. I would say ask your health departments. Start with your health departments. If your county has an opioid task force, look for a web page that they may have up, or make a phone call and ask them for a referral. Who do I talk to? Where do I go?
Yeah, because that is really scary. That's a whole different perspective. Like, I know personally, if I were jeopardizing, I don't care what state of mind I'm in as a mother, I would be like, "You gonna take my
It's
baby from
terrifying.
me?
If
You
you
gonna
think
take my
about it, it's
baby?
terrifying.
Yep.
Don't take my kids. That's my all." So, wow, that's amazing because people don't even think about one of the reasons why someone. Wow, it's not just all fun and games when you start using. Uh, it's a snowball effect of things that you have to think about when you want to go into recovery.
Yep. And we're trying to work with different nonprofits and community groups, not just working against fentanyl, which is obviously our prime purpose. But for example, we work with Mama Moses, the Underground Railroad, and Melanie Stewart is just an amazing woman. She's out there working with the homeless
It's down in
and the
Wellington.
neediest people. She's
goes
all over.
everywhere.
Oh,
She's
wow.
all over. She's based out of Harnett County, but she goes where the need goes. And so we work with her, training her volunteers in her first level training, giving them kind of a base knowledge of drugs and fentanyl in particular, and Narcan training and rescue breathing. We don't teach CPR, but we do teach rescue breathing.
And
that
I
they're
still
better
have
equipped.
I still had the information from our first show on this, so it is now scrolling across the bottom of the screen for Mama Moses,
Mama
the
Moses.
Underground Railroad. Yes.
Yeah, she's on Front Street in Wellington.
Yep.
She's
But
amazing.
she goes everywhere.
She does phenomenally.
Amazing.
Phenomenal.
She's definitely boots on the ground. Doesn't matter what time of the night, what time of the day. She gets a call and she's out there. She's amazing.
Yeah, we've had some other therapists from other areas. Miranda McCrae, she was really boots on the ground. She's from Connecticut, I think.
I believe
and
so.
She will go into crack houses and, different shooting galleries and stuff like that. And just walk up to the people and be like, "Do you want to get clean today? Are you tired of this?
Yep.
Do you want some help today? Like, somebody cares about you."
Yep.
More of that, right? Like,
It's a stigma in this country about doing that. And, I hate to keep bringing this up, but when I was working on The Wire, I don't know if you remember, one of the storylines on that was the police chief at the time decided to round up all of the drug dealers and pushed them to this one area of Baltimore where it was run down to where really nobody lived. And his thinking was, okay, we're going to push them here so that way we can provide them this outreach service. We've got all of these dealers and addicts all in this one place. So now we can service them better. We're going to give them clean needles. We're going to give them information on how to get off. We're going to give them access to this type of help. We're going to give them this. We're going to give them that. And, the first thing that people thought was, oh, well, you're legalizing drugs. You're saying it's okay. And the whole point of that was, whether they're here or elsewhere, they're going to do it. So why not do something that is outside of the box to approach a problem? And to me, that made perfect sense. You know what I mean? Why not go into the areas where they're at? And not only that, bring them to an area where they're going to be so you can serve them better.
I think it's a lot.
We need that kind of off the wall type thinking to where it
There's a
might
lot
not
of
be
fear.
acceptable. Well, yeah.
People have fear.
But it's all
what will
about
happen.
what people are thinking. It's about the perception.
Yeah.
And we need to remove that and just think about, let's help people, period.
And I think that, again, the other side of that is that we can reduce the number of people requiring and acquiring drugs if we reduce the number of drug dealers by actually prosecuting them and holding their feet to the fire and not letting them bond out with drug money to go out on the streets and sell more drugs to pay their lawyer
And
to keep
disappear.
them out and do it again and again and again with reduced sentences because they hired a great lawyer with the money they got from selling drugs to your child and my child and everybody else's child. So if we can reduce the number of if we can make drug dealers feel some heat, they may think twice. They'll be more careful where they go and who they approach. And because the cost will be too high for them. And that's what we need to do. We need to make the cost too high for the drug dealer and access to treatment too easy for the
Yes.
person who requires that.
That's a great formula.
And if we can do that, we'll balance the scale. We're never going to make this disappear, but we can balance the scale.
Yes, and save more lives. Save more lives. Did you have some footage from?
You know me all too well. baby.
He was pressing buttons. Sophie, did you have something to add as well?
Well, he's doing that. Can you do me a favor and set a timer?
Yes.
2 minutes?
Absolutely. Ready?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, we setting a timer.
I know there's a reason for it, but I'm gonna move on.
There is.
Now, what we're gonna put up on the screen is this trailer. Can you explain something about this trailer?
Absolutely. So this is an organization called Angels Across America, and they do just that. They travel all across the country to a variety of events that are sponsored by a lot of nonprofits, families, different organizations who invite them and ask them to come in, which we did, and they graciously came to Hardin County. And each one of those faces on there is a face of someone lost to drugs. Most of those that are on there recently are from fentanyl poisonings, although they're not all. And some of them are suspected, but perhaps they died before we started becoming aware and really testing for fentanyl. So there's a lot of, I had a conversation with someone whose child was on there and said, look, at the time my child died, nobody knew what that was. And so they'll always have their suspicions, but they don't know. But it is literally a moving tribute to all of those people. Yeah, there goes my baby. Our baby.
Yes, he is. That's our Brennan.
And they go all over the country and they share information, talk with families, offer an opportunity for them to gather, to heal, to cry, to be angry together, which we often are.
Yes.
To share our stories, to make sure our loved ones are remembered. Because there's a saying, you never truly die until someone no longer speaks your name.
Keep your voice alive.
And that is what this is. This is
And
a
we are
way.
done.
That's how fast you would die from a lethal dose of fentanyl. 2 minutes.
Scary stuff. It's really scary.
And I can say 2 minutes and people go, oh, okay. This is one of the things we do. We make people realize actually how short a time 2 minutes is.
And then that's the window that this is effective as well, correct?
Yes.
2 minutes. You got
Okay.
2 minutes to get it out.
You have a 2 minute window.
They have 2 minutes to be while they're conscious and potentially still able to ask for that help. There is what happens with fentanyl is you have opioid receptors in the brain, and fentanyl covers those opioid receptors. So what happens when you get an opioid is that they tell your brain to slow down your breathing, right? Fentanyl floods them. So it tells your brain, stop breathing. And so that's what happens. Within a 2 minute span, you've stopped breathing. What fentanyl does is block that, covers those receptors so that fentanyl or opioid that you've taken doesn't hit the receptor. Now, one thing that I want to make really clear to people, though, is that Narcan lasts 30 to 90 minutes in the system. Those drugs can last hours. Never, ever, 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 ever leave someone alone who has needed Narcan, naloxone. We did have a story that was shared amongst our groups of a family whose child needed naloxone. He was taken to the hospital. His family wanted to get him help. We're asking questions. He got scared and he ran away.
Ooh.
He died because he needed more and no one was there. So we really emphasize to people, don't ever, ever, ever leave someone alone.
Yeah. Oh,
So that's
wow.
not a, so that's a, like you said, that's a Band-Aid. You put that Band-Aid on there, and then you get them to the hospital so they can be flushed, so it can be somehow flushed out of their system. Okay.
Yeah, observed until they're safe again.
Yes.
So I'd like to make sure that people understand that. There is a new drug called OPVEE, OPVEE.
I was just getting ready to bring that up as well.
Hey, come on, Mr. Research.
And OPVEE lasts much longer in the system. So it lasts about 2 to 4 hours, about the same time that drug would still be operating on those opioid receptors in the brain.
I also read that they're looking into an implant,
Yeah, that's still.
which it's still in the early stages. Yes.
Yep.
How does that work?
That to me I don't know. An implant to me just seems like, okay, I'm going to get this implant and I'm going to keep doing it because I know I got the implant and it's going to save me, so I can just keep doing it.
The problem with that is that that's not how it'll work. If they have the implant and they do drugs, this is the way it's supposed to work. So if you have the implant and you take an opioid, whether it's fentanyl or heroin or meth, you won't get high.
Oh, that's
Okay.
Because
wow.
that blocker is floating around in your system.
Did you see? I mean, just all the genius ideas that are going into medicine practices, and there's no one offer. There's no one offer. Every case is so different. Like you said, some are active in addiction. Some have just gotten something that they didn't know what it was. Some know what it is and want it.
Yes.
And so it is going to take so much more love and appreciation for each other. And I'm so glad that I have you two in my life, because this was something that I had never even thought about or even talked about before what happened to Josh. And so this is an opportunity for us, all of our viewers, all of our listeners, to get educated. We used to have the Say No to Drugs campaign. It's so much bigger than just saying no to drugs now.
Yeah.
And we talked about Mad Mothers Against Drunk Driving. We have to band together and figure out a way to support. Yes, it may not hit home until it hits home, but it's always hitting home because this is our community.
Yes.
And we all are in this together. We all are neighbors. We all are family in some capacity. I just don't know what else to say. We really need to listen to each other and hear sometimes the voices that are not being heard. We need to be able to listen and hear the words that are not being said from our family members. And it's not just children. It's older people are finding their way into this tragic poisoning. Yep. So is there anything else that you have coming up that people can... Always.
Always. I didn't bring my big calendar, but yeah, we have, let's see, next week we have your birthday and Alex's court date.
We have a training in Lexington on the 18th.
Lewisburg. We're doing the Three Lions Pub.
Road.
The Three Lions Pub in Lewisburg has invited us in to train all of their staff and any of their community members who want to show up. So we'll be doing that on the 18th. On the 19th, we will be in Wilmington assisting with participating in a video shoot for
22 Jacks and Lady Dice.
Is that the girl that's saying stop it? No,
that's Sierra B.
Oh, that's my dog now.
They just came out with a new song called For Y'all, and it's talking about their loss of loved ones to fentanyl, and she's actually they give statistics and numbers in that song.
Oh, wow. Did you have that one?
I do have the information on the screen for the Narcan first responder training.
Oh, good.
So that's up there. I'll leave that up there for a little bit so folks can get the numbers and the pertinent information for that.
And see, while that's on the screen, y'all know I'm a music lover. Y'all know our whole family, we all do music. And it's a way to communicate.
It is.
We would love to have some of these artists to come out to the show. I wish we could have had them on today if I had known about the music and the message.
Well, everyone is invited. It's a public event to come out on the 19th to Wilmington for this video shoot. So come on out and meet them if you'd like. Also, Sarah B., the young lady you referred to, we have been in conversations with her and her manager. We are in the infancy stage of planning a very large community event for September. And it looks like she will very graciously be coming to perform.
Oh, y'all got celebrities coming out supporting.
So we're working on it.
As soon as you get that information, get it to us so we can post away and try to make sure we have it on our calendar. We would love to be there.
We are going, we don't have a date yet, but we're going out of town again with Mama Moses to do a training. Do you remember where that one was?
We go so many places.
Y'all just come back from DC too?
That was last year.
Yeah.
They went to DC.
We're not going to be attending that rally this year because we have June 8th, we're in Lexington with Swirl Ministries. June 15th, I believe. Yeah, 14th, we are working with Missy Duff's group on an event during the statewide yard sale. She's having a table. And so we will be out there helping to share Narcan and information with the community. The 15th, we'll be in Henderson speaking and doing Narcan trainings for Forgotten Victims of North Carolina's rally.
Wow.
Missy's Juneteenth.
We've been invited to go with Missy into Smithfield for the Juneteenth event.
Wow.
And participate with that, which we're looking forward to.
Too. She's moving.
She's amazing.
I love her so much. I can't tell you how she's amazing. And there are so many other amazing families out there doing this. The Loomises with Race Against Drugs, the Bostics with Darren's Voice, Barbara Walsh with Fentanyl Victims of North Carolina, Patricia Drews with Forgotten Victims. There's the Bradfords with 2 Out Rally. There's so many. But yet at the same time, 27 for 100 counties we're a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
And so we have to encourage other people to join in and do what they can and participate in some way. It doesn't mean you have to go out and start a nonprofit, but you can go out and make your community aware. One of the simplest things we do is give out our T-shirts.
Yes.
And they start conversations everywhere we go. Bracelets. We went the 7th, we went out to the Harnett County Health Department and we had a Fentanyl Awareness Day vigil. And we read off 178 names and we still had people requesting while we were reading names that we add more. We lit a candle for each one of them. But after that, we went out to eat. And the waitress said to my husband, on a shirt, she goes, "Well, who's that?" I said, "My son." And he explained. And she goes, "Well, Joshua's Army, what is that?" And so he told her. She wanted to know where he went to school and maybe she knew him. And I said, "I think you're a little bit younger than he was." But I always take a bracelet. I always wear extras. And I always take a bracelet and wrap it around the tip. And my husband goes, "She doesn't want that." And I said, "You just sit back and watch and learn." Sure enough, she said, "Oh my gosh, thank you." She ran back in the back and came back and said, "You have any more of those? My friends want them too."
Saving lives.
So, and on our bracelet is our email address. So people always can find a way to get in touch with us. And if we don't have the answer, I'll send you to somebody else to help you find it. I'll stand there with you and make a call and we'll find it together if that's what you want.
One thing that I experienced with you guys out on 87 was there was a woman who just pulled up. She just pulled straight up to the tent and she was like, "What is this?" And I said, "Well, I tried to explain the best way I could." I was like, "It's a fentanyl awareness. We have some families here who are going to do a balloon release and things of that nature and some information about how we can help our loved ones to not succumb to fentanyl poisoning." And she was like, "I seen that lady before." I know that lady. I'm telling you, I know that lady. I seen her before. And I was like, it's possible because she's everywhere.
Yep.
And then she shared with me that her son was out actively addicted to fentanyl. So
Yep.
I ran over. I was like, listen, y'all got to help this lady.
We had
And-
actually met at the courthouse.
Yeah.
Every time we have a hearing for Josh, we stand out in front of the courthouse with our signs that we take in, and we always have on our shirts. And I hand out our cards to anyone who wants them. We don't pressure people, but we're there. And it amazes me and hurts me every time how many people stop and they start by saying, I'm sorry. And then they tell us their story, their loss, their pain. And that was where we met that lady. And she happened to have her teenage daughter in the car that day and wanted us to talk. And we gave her Narcan.
I think
and
y'all gave her like 10 packs of Narcan.
for her child and
I was
anyone
just like,
else.
wow.
Yep, that's what we do.
Real work. This is really a true army for Joshua and all of our community. And babe, I just don't know what more we could say.
Well, I've had the information for Joshua's Army on the screen for the past 5 minutes now. So just in case anyone needs it, you have their email address. I don't know if you can scan that off the screen, but hey,
Screenshot it, share it with
screenshot
a
it,
friend.
share it, pass it on, because it could be something that can save lives. So, I mean, what you're doing, it's unfortunate that you were placed in this position to do what you're doing. But, the fortunate thing is I just know in my heart that you have actually helped quite a few folks along the way.
I hope so.
Yes.
And I told the detective when we were working on Joshua's case together, I said, you need to understand why this is so important to me. Of course I want justice for my son. Of course I'm angry about my son, but that's not what keeps me up at night. What keeps me up at night is knowing that somebody else is going to go through the same thing if I don't stop him. And I told him he had 11. I said, you have exactly 1 year to do it, or you can come and take my picture. And he said, no,
Mama
don't do that.
Play.
But
She's real about that thing.
he said to me then, he said, we're going to get him, and you'll never know who it is, but I promise you somebody's going to live because you did this. And so when someone says to me, well, you just do this because you're angry and you want revenge, I don't want revenge. I am angry. I lost my only son, my best friend. But I don't want revenge. I truly hope that he serves his sentence, that he rehabilitates himself, that he gains some skills to come out and perhaps help the community with this very problem. Lots of people do. And then again, lots of people go back to doing what they were doing. So it's his choice. And like I said, unlike my son, he has the opportunity to breathe, to see sunshine, to improve himself and become a better man.
Yeah, we can't take for granted our influence. If we can influence someone to use drugs, then that's a power that we should be reversing and using to get somebody an education, to get somebody some food, to listen to somebody who's in trouble mentally.
Absolutely.
To hear the voices and the words that are not being said. And I just pray that we can get to the root of all of this in order for our community to come together and help to fight. Because like you said, drugs will always be around. But it's what we do in our communities together as moms and sisters and loved ones.
And the frightening thing is we have to educate people now, because what's coming down the road is so much worse. This, xylazine and these fentanyl analogs that are used as elephant tranquilizers that are now being put in drugs. What's coming is so much worse than what we see now. And what we see now is horrendous.
Yes.
We lost more people last year to fentanyl poisonings than we lost to COVID. We don't have a fentanyl counter up anywhere. You don't see that on Fox News. It's not running at the White House. No one's talking about this in a big way. And they have to do their part. We can only do so much. I can try my best to keep people alive on the ground. They've got to change the process.
People have to know. People have to stop typecasting people because of what they perceive to be as a lost one.
That's it. And exactly. And, you know, I brought this picture. I thought about this for days. And I brought this picture because my son is in it. And I'll give it to you. But all four of these boys were bright, intelligent, funny, fun-loving, talented in a variety of ways. You know, two of them are dead to fentanyl. One of them is out on the streets addicted. No more college, no more making music. He was so talented.
Wow.
And he's put all that aside because of an addiction. 1 out of 4. All of them had the same opportunity, the same ability intellectually to make a decision, to make a choice.
Yeah, Josh could fix anything, right?
Pretty much, or find anything.
Or call mom.
Yeah.
I got
Kids
it.
kept telling me, get Josh to fix the thing. I was like, he's just a kid. Like,
The only thing he couldn't fix was anything that had to do with the vehicle. If it had to do with the vehicle, forget it. Forget it. He's calling mom or me or dad.
He had a flat tire, he calls mom.
That is hilarious.
Call mom.
Anything else he was good at fixing.
But you know, they said 1 out of 5 families in America.
Can we show that picture too on the camera?
There you go. 1 out of 5 families in the United States has been affected by fentanyl. Now you think about that, 1 in 5. How many houses are on your street? And you don't know. 7 out of 10, 7 out of every 10 street drugs, regardless of what the drug is, heroin, crack, meth, marijuana, are contaminated with illicit fentanyl right now, according to the DEA. And they're seizing more and more, and yet our numbers are going up.
They're only catching a small percent.
A very
of
small percentage.
what's actually out in the public.
Yep. When you think about how little it takes to kill someone coming over with a water bottle with liquid fentanyl, for example, and they need to really critically look at this, not just go, it's a weapon of mass destruction, but truly critically look at this that way. Because think about it. What if someone dumped a bottle of that in the water system? What if someone threw a drone over a community event with powdered fentanyl?
My God.
It is on every level that we have to attack this.
And nobody is safe. If it's in the room, nobody's safe.
Nobody's safe.
I saw the picture of the infant on the trailer, and they explained how I guess the person who was trying to hide it hid it in the diaper drawer or something, and the baby came in contact with it and succumbed to the poisoning. So we just have to be aware. We need to be aware. People, please make yourself aware of what's really going on out here. Educate yourselves, educate your children, have these talks. These babies, 3 and 4-year-olds, can scroll through your phone and find a game. They can find anything. Trust me, we know. They're smarter, they're faster, and they're curious. They're more curious even than we were, because we were told, don't be curious, don't do that.
Well, we had, I remember the whole campaign, this is your brain on drugs, right? With the egg and the egg frying in the pan.
We thought it was funny.
We thought it was funny because marijuana was about 1% THC when I'm 58. Just throw it out there.
Where?
We could be stupid and then change our mind and go, oh, okay, I did that with you. Challenge accepted. I'm gonna move on. And it
Hungover.
was safe to do that. Yeah, and we could do that. And now you're looking at anywhere from 10 to 30% THC before they spray with fentanyl.
Jeez. Oh my goodness.
So
Amanda
when-
Young said we have people putting fentanyl on gas pumps in Cumberland County. What in the world? Why would somebody just, okay, it's one thing that you said the one situation where the dealers are trying to get people addicted to the fent. But
That's not a drug dealer. I'll guarantee you that's human trafficking.
now see, that's a whole
You get it on your hand, and what do we
other
do?
podcast. So that makes a lot more sense now why it's so prominent, because that has gone up so much in our country and abroad that I guess if you do have somebody who's got a touch of this, but
And touching it isn't, there's this idea that if you touch it,
It could kill.
it can kill you. That's not
That's
true.
not. Yeah.
If you have an open wound and it makes contact, you could be in trouble. The bigger issue is you get it on your hands, and what do we do with our hands,
Touch
right?
your
To our
face.
face, our mucous membranes, which are very vascular. That's how it gets into the system, and that's what they bank on. It's the same thing when we had a rash of money that was being found contaminated with fentanyl, folded up in stores. Kids pick it up. They wander off a little bit from the parent. They're easier to grab because they're quiet and compliant.
wow.
So
Wake up, people. Wake up, people. It's not safe. And this is not a fear tactic. This is a knowledge
It's a sad reality.
tactic.
And I just want to emphasize real quick, because I have a 13-year-old who goes to school in Lee County. He has come to me last year and been like, "Hey, Mom, they're doing drugs in the bathroom."
Wow.
And he was 12 in middle school, right here in good old Lee County. This is a conversation that really, truly needs to be had with every child. Every child that is able to understand needs to have this, sit down in this conversation, because it is crucial.
Yeah.
and you start when they're toddlers, like our grandbaby.
Yeah.
And you start by you don't take anything from strangers. You don't take anything from anybody that you don't ask mom or dad about first, right?
And I think we had
can
this
be easy.
conversation with Missy. You know, it's a different age now. Most folks older, you know, around our age would think, oh no, you don't need to talk to them about that at that age. But it was a different era back then because you didn't have the instant bombardment of all of this bad influences and information and all of this like they do now with the internet and people doing all these crazy challenges and this, that, and the other. So, you know, it just makes sense to start having these conversations at earlier ages, because if you don't do it,
Somebody.
this will.
Social
Yeah.
media definitely.
Eventually, they're
open
gonna
the
be-
door.
What's this? And come across that. And next thing you know, they're either looking for it or they're asking other kids at school about, hey, did you see this or hear about that? Oh yeah, I know so-and-so that this, that, and it's like a domino effect. And you got to cut it off before it even begins.
And that's why, you know, we try to counter that social media. I know people go, oh, you know, TikTok's evil. And there are issues. There are issues with TikTok and Instagram. My son's dealer, the person who dealt this poison to my son would be a better way to put it. They had a conversation over instant messenger. Very open. My son asked him, is it good? He wanted to know. He knew enough to know to ask, but he still trusted the wrong person. So to counter that, we're not only on Facebook, we're on TikTok, we're on X, we're on Instagram, we're even on Yelp. If you're looking for us, you'll find us somewhere. Anytime we find another way that we can spread that message and share other groups' message, we do our best to do that.
Awesome.
So
Awesome. Well, are there any final remarks that you wanted to add or anything that you would take away? One thing you would tell anyone of any age in this era about fentanyl awareness, what would you say? Chelsea.
Always got to give me the hot seat. really just like do your work, really research into it. Listen to what people have to say. I know sometimes it might be a little difficult, but I mean, this is a huge issue. And don't ever say it's not me. It'll never be me, because it very well could be you. You never know.
Shout out to Wendy Thomas with Matthew's Voice. She's a teacher, and she has developed a program which she goes into schools and uses with kids. And one of the things she does is she uses that statistic of 7 out of 10, and she hands them an envelope. We're all at a party and we all took this drug, and then she has the ones that get the black envelope stand up. 7 students out of every 10 are standing up. And then she goes through the numbers about how many of you may have died, how many of you may be sick, how many of you just became addicted and will come back for more. And that's a pretty sobering moment for teenagers who are kind of goofing around and rolling their eyes and thinking they know more than you do, right?
Yeah, that's good, though. That was good.
So I want to give her, her props for that, because
What was
she's
her
working
name
really
again?
hard. Wendy Thomas, and she runs Matthew's Voice.
Matthew's Voice.
She lost her son, Matthew, and only lives about 3 miles from us. The boys didn't know each other, but another Harnett County family.
One out of the 7.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who, and we look at it and we go, these are families who, on the surface, I guess we all look like we all had it all together. We thought we taught our kids everything they needed to know, but we forget, I think, that 1, they have a mind of their own, and 2, the pressures that they face are not the same that we did. It's not the same.
Not at all.
We didn't have computers and cell phones and iPads, and you had to run across the street, and
You had to remember a phone number and be able to find somebody's house without GPS or the maps.
There was no sneaky conversation because you were tangling up in the corner trying to witch her.
With a pillow overhead.
We couldn't. So we have to remember that their challenges are very, very different than ours. So we can't. When a child comes to you and goes, "This is going on," or "I feel like so and so's doing something and I'm worried about them," or "They want me to do it too," take them seriously. Take them seriously. And one of the things that I would tell parents in particular, and it may seem a bit off topic, but is to make sure you have their codes for their phones and their program, just in case.
Just in case, yeah.
And thank God my son and I did share codes, because I was able to get into his phone at that moment. And that started an investigation right away. And I know there are families that are not getting to that point because they're being told their phones can't be gotten into.
Wow. So anything else you wanted to add? Educate.
Yes.
Educate.
Awareness is key. Wow. I just want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
We can't thank you enough. How many times you tell it, I see their strength, but it doesn't matter how many times you tell it. It hits me the same way every time. And I feel that I need to pray more for you each day. And I love you, and we love you truly, and thank you for coming.
And I'm going to leave it with that picture up again. Just remember, 1 out of 4.
We would appreciate your taking the time to give us an opportunity to hopefully reach someone else, even if it's just one person.
Yes.
That one person may reach many more.
That's it. Think about Listen, I just saw that little waitress going out and being an advocate. That's what I felt that in my heart, that she really is going to remember that. And a teenage girl in the car with her mom. She's going to remember that.
Yeah.
And the other family that showed up, that I wasn't sure if you were busy, there was a woman who showed up in a uniform. She works at the hospital. She left and she came back with her children because her son one of her sons was lost. She just lives down the road from us. So we have all now connected, and they are helping to share a message among themselves and their friends and their families. And I think that's how we do it. It's just one person at a time, one family at a time, one moment at a time.
Build that helping network. Yes.
It has no race, color, class, age, gender. It does not discriminate.
No, and
anybody.
the only other thing I would say is that when we talk about Narcan and we talk about stigma, we remind people, because we have people go, oh, it's not, I don't need that. That's not for me. And we try to impress that everyone does. Do you have someone who has a narcotic prescribed at home? Maybe they make a mistake and take too much. It's still a narcotic, even if it's prescribed. What if you have an elderly family member who's early dementia, takes their medicine twice? We had an episode where came across someone hiking, dehydrated, taking his medicine in order to hike, was in kind of a crisis. We were able to help. You never know. It's not because we think that you're an addict or your family member is addicted. It's the idea that you have the responsibility to keep someone else alive.
Responsibility and accountability.
Yep.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it, yes.
It's all about. Wow.
Well,
Ooh,
I think that's a wrap.
it is definitely a wrap.
Okay.
ChynaGroove will never be the same after tonight.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
This was part 2 in the series. I'm sure we're going to have, sadly, many more parts. If you ever want to come back on, you have a open seat, both of you. Anyone else that wants to share a story that you can bring on, we will definitely utilize our platform to get that word out there. So you have a standing invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always.
Yes,
And
always.
promote your events. We're here.
Yes.
We love you.
We love you.
Well, and on that note, once again, this has been another ChynaGroove podcast, Saturday evening, a little after 8 p.m. Catch us on that repeat. Ooh, that's out of country.
You've been the same for too long now.
Oh my goodness. Oh my. Yeah, I need to go back to DC for at least a weekend or something. Wow, where did that come from? Anyway,
It's official. It's official.
and on that note, I can't think of anything better to say than
it's a wrap, it's a wrap, it's a wrap, it's a wrap, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, it's a wrap, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, it's a wrap, it's a wrap, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, it's a wrap, it's a wrap.